Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Emily. I love DIY projects, thrifting, thrift flips, furniture flips, really all things crafting. Today's video is a part of a playlist, which I will get more into in a little bit. The theme is Industrial Farmhouse. I'm super excited because I decided to make over my laundry room. Currently, it had no theme going on, so I was like, I'm going to make it my industrial farmhouse room. I'm super excited. This video has several DIY projects as well as a styling portion with thrifted and vintage finds, so I really hope y'all enjoy, and let's get started on these projects. To start this project, we're going to use whatever wood that you want to use. In this case, I am using shelving board because it was scrap wood that I had in my garage, and I cut it to 4 feet long. So I am taking these hooks that I got from Hobby Lobby when they were 50% off, and I am taking hangers from my closet and using them to help space out how far apart I want to put these hooks. And I'm just measuring. I think I did an inch from the top because I am going to be putting a stencil on the bottom. So I am staining this with Honey by Minwax. It is the same stain that I have throughout my laundry room, so I wanted to keep it consistent. And I stained everything except for the back side because it's going to be up against the wall. So I let that dry for 24 hours and I cut out the laundry sign with my stencil using my Cricut machine. I will leave the font here because I cannot remember it offhand, but it is a stencil type of font, so it kind of was like Industrial Farmhouse to me. So with using the stencil vinyl, which is my favorite thing to use, which I will link, it is super easy to apply. I measured to make sure that it was in the middle, and I'm using the transfer tape from Expressions Vinyl, which I will link. One thing I do, instead of using Mod Podge when I have a stained surface, I use polyacrylic to seal my stencil in before I add paint to prevent bleeding. Mod Podge never worked for me. I know it works for a lot of people, but so far this polyacrylic has worked perfectly for me every single time to avoid bleeding. So I do a thin layer and I let it sit for an hour, and then that is when I'm going to apply the paint. So I am using ink chalk paint by Waverly, and I'm doing not a super thin coat, but not a super heavy coat, and I'm just painting it on. I only have to do one coat because it is such great coverage. I love this black chalk paint, and I do not let the paint dry before I lift the stencil. I lift the stencil right away because I don't want any flakes to happen when I'm lifting it off. To me, if the paint is still wet when I'm lifting the stencil, I won't have any chipping or flakes coming off of the paint, if that makes any sense. So I remove the stencil, I let it dry thoroughly, and then I do a thin spray of the polyacrylic to clear coat it. Because I am going to be having clothes rub up against the word laundry, and I just don't want anything to rub off. So I just attach the hooks, and because I had silver hooks, I'm using Bark Brown acrylic paint, and I'm going to dab on a little bit of the black ink chalk paint to kind of blend it all in. So all of that is done. Everything is fully dried. I add D-hooks to the back of the shelving board, and then I get to measuring. I am horrible at this. I always have my husband do it, but he was out of town, so I tried this trick and it worked. So I took painter's tape and I put it all across the back, and I made sure that I marked the holes with a Sharpie where the D-hooks were. And then I picked up the painter's tape and I put it on the wall. I got it to where I wanted. I made sure that where the holes were the same width to the ceiling. I screwed them in, and I hung the new laundry rack, and it was straight, and I was so proud of myself. And then for a finishing touch, I grabbed these hangers from Walmart because they were the black and gold, and I thought it just added that extra industrial touch to it. And I hope you guys like this. I cannot wait to start drying my clothes from that instead of the thing that I had before. This is going to create so much more space in my small laundry room. This video is a part of the monthly open playlist called Room by Room by the host Freckled Mom DIY. I love being a part of this playlist. She is amazing. Please go check out her channel and make sure you check out the link in my description for the playlist for all the other creators in this playlist. We're going to be making cute laundry signs, and I had some leftover scrap wood in my garage, so I cut them down based on the words that I wanted to use with the IOD stamps that I have. So I pre-measured out um, the size that I needed for the wood, cut them down, sanded them, and then I'm using Waverly white chalk paint, and I'm giving it a healthy coat on all the sides. I like to have the finished look on pieces like this because it's going to be like a shelf sitter, if you will. And if for whatever reason someone picked it up or saw it from a different angle, I just want it to have that finished look. And also, I do craft sale or craft events and I have Etsy pages. So if I do end up wanting to sell these later on, then they're already a finished piece. So again, I'm using IOD stamps. I'm using the typesetting stamps, and I'm going to be spelling out wash, dry, and fold. If you guys haven't used IOD stamps before, you definitely want to make sure that you take like 220 grit sandpaper and do a light sand over top of them before you start applying the ink to help the ink like adhere to the stamp. And it's as easy as it looks. I'm just applying the ink. I'm using a permanent black ink. It's Stays On brand. I got it from Amazon. I will link it in the description. And I center it on the wood, and I make sure my one hand is holding it down the entire time while my other hand like rubs across all the letters so that it doesn't shift around, because if it shifts then you're going to smudge it. Here the R didn't adhere properly, but I just took it off and reapplied it and it worked perfect. So I gave it like 5 minutes to fully dry, and then I wanted to lightly sand it so it had that even more aged look to it. And I still wanted to distress it without using more sandpaper, so I decided to take the Waverly Antique Wax, and with this really old chip brush that I have, I'm just lightly applying the antique wax to the sides and then just a little bit over top of it to antique it up, age it, and give it that like faux distressed look without having to sand and make a huge mess. So I do that to the front and I do it to the sides. I don't end up doing it to the back, just so you guys know. All right, guys, this DIY project is super easy. So I grabbed these clothespins from Walmart. They were a pack of 50 for a couple dollars. I already had this wide mouth mason jar, and I'm just filling the mason jar with the clothespins to see how many will fit in there. And then I wanted to age them, make them look older. So I grabbed some antique wax and I added some water to it to thin it down, and I am taking the clothespins in batches into the solo cup so that they can get completely covered with this antique wax and water mixture. And then I let them fully dry. It takes a little while, but I let them fully dry before I add them back into the mason jar. And then I just seal it up. And I think this adds like the perfect farmhouse touch to your laundry room, and it's clothespins, so it's a super practical thing to find in your laundry room. So I hope you guys like this one. I cannot wait to add it to my laundry room. All right, so I have this area here. My husband built both of these pieces. This is a table that I originally was going to use for folding, but it just never really happened. But underneath of this is where our litter box is. So don't worry, I'm not gonna show that. But I do wanna decorate this area. So this was in my family. My mom gave this to me, this washboard, which I absolutely love. I used to have it hanging on the wall where I just hung the laundry piece. I just had it there with nothing else, so it was pretty boring. But this, I'm just going to rest, I think, right here. And I grabbed this black metal basket, and it was on clearance at Hobby Lobby a week ago, I think, and I got it for $8.74. Several videos ago, I put this together, and I can link that in the description. This is dried lavender that I got at a vendor market, and this is a thrifted pitcher that I'm using as a vase, and I love it. Originally, I thought this would fit above these cabinets, but it's too tall, so that's why I'm going to just keep it here. Okay, in case I haven't mentioned this before, so my husband is a woodworker, which you all know, but he also is a reserve police officer. So inevitably, I always find, you know, the cartridges from, you know, when he goes to the range to practice shooting. So, and he was also on the SWAT team. So I always found these in his pockets. And they make such a loud noise in the dryer. So I just started putting them in a little jar here, because in our house, these are like, you know, the random sock that you find. You know, you always find one sock and you can't find the other one. Well, in our house, I always find these. So I'm just gonna leave this here, and you know, it actually adds the perfect touch to an industrial farmhouse look, so I'm okay with that. I grabbed this mat from Walmart. It was like $9 or $10. The buffalo plaid is the perfect farmhouse touch, and the black just adds in with all the other black accents that are going on in the laundry room. All right, so I laid out everything in here from stuff that I either found around my house or some of the DIYs that we made together already. So I just wanted to go over a couple things. For the industrial farmhouse vibe that I was going for, I was definitely trying to pull in some black accents and mix it with greenery and some, you know, like the farmhouse vintage kind of idea. So I wanted to show you some of the like vintage pieces that I already have. So my husband, also, so many things about my husband in this video. My husband used to be an electrician as well. So I came across all of these, I forget what they're actually called, but they used to go on top of like the light pole or something like that. So he really likes them, so I would collect them when I would find them. So I actually have two of these colors. I have one clear one that's this big, and then I have another smaller white one. So I have 4 of those. This piece is awesome. My mom gave it to me, and it is an old iron. This one was in my family, and I cannot remember whose this used to be. So my mom gave this to me a while ago, which I absolutely love having some family pieces in my home. My husband collects vintage cameras. So if you have seen any of my other videos, you may have seen on the hutch that I decorate several cameras, and he has so many that they don't all fit on the hutch. So I had some extra ones. I think these are the only 2 that I grabbed. So I grabbed these to add to the vibe in here. I found this vintage book a long time ago, and it has those beautiful pages that I love. And of course it's black, so it's perfect for in this room. I have another large book, and oh, this one's dusty. It has already been sitting up there. Let's see. So both of these are actually the same book. They're both Handbook of Chemistry and Physics, and they're just different editions. So I've had these for a while. This one is the 44th edition. Let's see if I can. This was 1962. And then this one is the 17th edition, which I thought was so cool. And this one is 1932, which is so cool. So I have these. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and the projects and the styling portion. Please let me know what was your favorite portion or what was your favorite project. I really love combining the vintage with the new, so I am just very, very happy with how this laundry room turned out. And I'd like to say I'm very proud of myself for hanging that laundry sign. I cannot hang things straight for the life of me, and usually my husband does it, but he was out of town while I was filming everything and I wanted to knock this out. So I did it and I'm super proud of myself. So if I can do it, then y'all can do it too. Anyways, make sure that you guys check out the playlist that is in my description box. You can see all the other YouTubers that have the wonderful videos for this theme as well. Please consider subscribing. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see y'all in my next one. Bye.